Hi guys, today is the 24th of March 2019 at 53 minutes past 5 in the evening, and the UK is holding armed forces in a MOD bunker for no deal Brexit. So on Monday, these troops will be ready to be deployed at a day's notice to the streets to help transport food, fuel and other goods into and around Britain. So truckers will be having their trucks guarded by military vehicles. You know, it's painting a pretty bleak picture of a no-deal Brexit. Suggestions are there'll be food shortages, and people would obviously try and steal the food from the trucks while they're on the road, and it's military vehicles there to protect them. Pretty concerning, not gonna lie. I have seen military vehicles in my area. My area is one of those that would go pretty crazy if there was a shortage of food. So I can definitely understand having some sort of security presence there, but deploying the military is an extreme step, and it does suggest that things are not going to be pretty in the event of a no-deal Brexit. So we have until, well, if this week, well, next week, sorry, if next week Parliament doesn't agree on Theresa May's third reiteration at a deal, then we will basically be leaving the EU on April the 12th. If next week they can agree some deal and the EU agrees with it as well, then we'll leave on May 22nd. There will be a transition period, and we'll be out of the EU. But at the moment, with the news I'm hearing and the votes the way they are, Theresa May kind of not budging on, certain points in the deal. Looks like we're going to be leaving without a deal on April the 12th. But there are contingency plans, so we'll see what develops. The Israeli military is preparing for unrest in the event that Donald Trump goes ahead and recognizes the Golan Heights as Israel's territory. Obviously, this does make things more dangerous for Israel, hence why they are preparing for unrest. They'd have unrest in the Gaza Strip, obviously from Iran in Syria. Syria itself has said that it's going to take back the Golan Heights, so if you take them at their word, there's going to be some sort of confrontation in the future or near future. If, for example, next week, while Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington, or around that time, maybe just after he's left, Donald Trump says the US is recognizing the Golan Heights as Israel's, then there could be some confrontation. So obviously next week is a big high watch. We've got armed forces ready to be deployed in the UK. We've got the Israeli military preparing for confrontation. And then you've got the Mueller report just released, and waiting to find out what's inside of it. We don't know what's in there. Obviously, there's pretty much two camps when you talk about the Mueller report. People who want it to be condemning against Trump and people who don't want it to be. I'm one of those people who would like to just know the information, and then I can really make a decision from there. I've made my some of my opinions about Donald Trump known, just from what I know about him personally, not from what I'm told about him, but from the way I see him speak and behave. I don't like it. I just think it's completely unnecessary, purposefully inflaming, and as the President of the United States, it doesn't live up to the symbology or the symbolic status of the man in the White House. And obviously some people say, yeah, well, that's why we voted him in, because he's different and he's not like the same. But there's a level that you can go to. Yeah, when you start attacking dead people, that's it for me. But inside of that report, there may be confirmations from the Steele dossier, especially in relation to the P tape. This is the rumor that when Donald Trump went to Moscow in 2013, he had some prostitutes conduct a golden shower on a bed that Obama stayed in before. I'm not sure about all of that, but that's the general context of the rumor. Now, it's possible that the IPEC Go-To video is saying something like that. In this part of the video, the George Bush character, who we pretty much know represents Donald Trump at the same time, is pointing to this image above him, which is a missile, but also genitalia, male genitalia, a penis, and it's urinating. And there's not many urination rumors out there, apart from the one with Donald Trump in Moscow. So it's possible that sometime soon we could hear confirmation from the Mueller report about that particular part of the Steele dossier. Now, this video may be pointing to a date. When I look at it just casually, I see the number 31 there. I've already pointed out on the eyebrow of this character, there's possibly number 2 going one way. If you read it back the other way, it's number 5, possibly saying 25. On the other eyebrow, we have a character that's lying on his back and appears to be Donald Trump. So I'm putting all that together, the 25, the 31, because it corresponds together on the lunar calendar, which will be the 21st lunar day, which is the 31st of March. That's next week Sunday. So with William Barr saying that he'll hopefully get the summary of the findings to Congress by this weekend, that would mean today. Obviously it may not be today, could be sometime tomorrow or next week. It could line up to, time-wise, it could line up. If the report is out by today or tomorrow, then we could get information like this, if it's in there, by the end of the week, end of next week. So keep an eye out for that. But prior to that, there is the 27th, which I'm looking at here, which is the 21st lunar day in March. And in the beginning of this video, the George Bush character holds his hands up as 10, 10, and then he's got 3 on one hand, 4 on the other. So 27 in total. In the apple, we have the 2 and the 1 reference, 21. So I'm thinking that that is where it kind of starts, on the 27th. And that would be the 21st lunar day, which would be the volcanic eruption and tsunami. Obviously there may be an earthquake in there as well somewhere. Volcanoes tend to have a connection with earthquakes. So it's either there's an eruption which then generates a landslide, earthquake, and then a tsunami comes, or there's a tsunami which affects the volcano, causing it to erupt. Then we have another kind of secondary tsunami following on from that. That scenario would connect with the Indian Ocean earthquake, tsunami happening there, traveling through the Indian Ocean into the Pacific and affecting Kilauea or Mauna Loa on the Hawaiian chain of islands, which would then cause a secondary tsunami which would hit the west coast. If it was like a quick succession, then the second tsunami could be generated kind of around the same time as the first tsunami is still moving away, so they could kind of join up together and create some sort of mega tsunami, which is pretty much what we are looking out for. So there's the 2 ways that those things can happen. And then the next date I'm looking out for is the 29th of March, which was Brexit Day until it was changed. That is the 23rd lunar day in March. And on the 23rd, we have what looks like the number 23 on the house back here. There's also the number 23 encoded into the shark. So I'm thinking we may have a connection with some sort of missile launch around New York. So that would come 2 days later. Obviously, if the west coast was hit by a tsunami, then 2 days later, the east coast, possible. We've also got the reference to the New York and possibly the red lobster claw here. So that could be a reference to New York red lobster, which would I'm thinking being Queens, just because we've got reference to, you know, the pound coin with the crown on it, which gives us a connection to Queen. So it may be Queens, New York that we're looking at in terms of red lobster. Could be an explosion there of some kind, maybe. Keeping my eyes open. But we also have, then the last date is the 31st of March, which is the 25th lunar day, and that's the one I started with. And that's where we've got the 25 encoded on one eyebrow, possibly, and Donald Trump lying on his back on the other eyebrow, possibly. And he's pointing at this missile, which has 1, 2, 3. The 3 drops could stand for the 3rd month, which could be March. And then we've got 31 in here. So, as I've talked about before, Donald Trump is kind of positioned himself as the linchpin, the last Jenga block in the tower that you can pull before it falls down. So, if this is all connected, it could happen this way. Something like this in the Steele dossier is confirmed in terms of the P-tape. Then something happens to Donald Trump by someone, maybe they're offended by it, the rumors that are coming out, or the confirmation of the rumors at that point. So maybe something happens to him at that point. And then we have a missile launch, likely from North Korea, as they are kind of in this peace talk negotiation, and it all kind of hinges on Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. Obviously, if Donald Trump isn't there, then that relationship is over, and where North Korea hasn't moved towards denuclearization at all, could be that they launch a missile on that day, you know, if something happens to Donald Trump. So it may be all connected in that sense. And again, just as I was about to move on, I won't before I quickly point this out. So again, back a little bit, forward a little bit. Come on. I'll put it there. Okay, so again, on the house, even though it's got the code of 23 in there and New York and lobster claw, on this side you can clearly see there's a reference to number 1 and 3, which could be a reference to the number 31. And if that's the case, then we've also got the house in the shape of a rocket or missile, which is on fire. Kind of facts that suggest it's like a nuclear missile here. Even the window itself would act as the symbol of radiation on the missile warhead. So 31, missile, nuclear weapon. 31, some sort of missile. It doesn't suggest it's nuclear, but again, it is a missile. So those two are connected, and they both have a reference to the number 31. Not only that, but in a separate media, Blondie, Doom, or Destiny, we've talked about this before, and we know that there's December the 31st, and we've got the reference to Sunday, and it's highlighted in red, so it's the important one, thermonuclear war. But I never considered that the thermonuclear war symbol is in the 3rd panel. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then there's a reference to the number 31 and Sunday. The iPad Go 2 video does a similar thing, 1, 2, 3, and then it has the number 31. When you think about 1, 2, 3, obviously that's could be March. 1 month, 2 month, 3 months. March the 31st on a Sunday. Next week is March the 31st, which is a Sunday. Now I don't know if that's how it's meant to be interpreted, or if there is supposed to be anything there to interpret, but there's a few connections which make it interesting enough for me to talk about and to present to you guys as a possible interpretation. So just very quickly, just to reiterate, the 21st lunar day, which is the 27th of March, I'm looking out for that volcanic eruption we've been talking about, the tsunami. There's obviously a couple of volcanoes we're watching from the Game of Thrones video. You can watch that on my channel. You see it pretty clearly. It's Daenerys and the dragon as the thumbnail. Yep, there we go. But from that video, we can see that there's a reference to the Vatican being destroyed by fire and water. They've kind of drawn it in the landscape. Go and check out that video. You can see it pretty clearly, as I pointed out in there. So there's volcano, tsunami in the Mediterranean, that has to be taking place at some point to destroy the Vatican. The Vatican is a representation of the church. And there's obviously the earthquake in the Indian Ocean as well. And I don't know, but I assume that that would be connected to the events that would then occur with the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii and the effects that that will have on the west coast. And then we move on to the 23rd, where we have the possible 9/11 event on the east coast, possibly New York, Red Lobster, Queens. You know, having said all those points, it may be that it doesn't happen there. Maybe it's a bit too obvious to do it now, or maybe they never intended to do it in the first place. I don't know, but I'm giving you all the interpretations. Then we have the 31st, where we appear to have some sort of nuclear launch. At the same time, the 31st is also the 25th lunar day, where we have the 25 on the eyebrow and Donald Trump line on his back. So it could be we have something connected with the Steele dossier being confirmed, something happening to Donald Trump, a missile launch coming from North Korea or Iran or both, and that is indicating thermonuclear war, which means that we are entering into a war type situation on the last Sunday in March, which is also pretty much, we kind of just entered spring, so it would be, I would say it would be the last day of winter, kind of the first part of spring we're going into. Maybe significant, maybe not, but that's all the interpretations. This is the second time I made this video. I wanted to make it shorter, but I'm guessing it's around the same amount of time I've been talking. But I do find it interesting. So keep an eye out on the 27th, 29th, and the 31st. Obviously, if the 27th rolls around and we don't see any volcanic eruptions, we don't see any tsunamis, then it's less likely that we'll see anything happening on the 29th and the 31st. But even if we don't see anything happening on the 27th, still keep your eyes out for potential 9/11 event on the East Coast. New York seems to be the reference, but there could be other locations. Florida is also somewhere I'm looking at, Texas and California too, just because they're major states. And then if that happens, I'd be more inclined to look out on the 31st for some sort of nuclear launch, particularly if we hear anything from the Mueller investigation that's related to the Steele dossier, in particular this P-tape rumor, then I'll be looking out for something happening to Donald Trump and a missile launch after that. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.